Greetings. Welcome to and thanks for clicking on Mel Zabecki and Michelle Rathgaber's presentation, Outreach When Reaching Out is Not an Option. We both work for the Arkansas Archaeological Survey, and we're both active members of the Arkansas Archaeological Society. And in this presentation, we are going to show you a few of the survey's efforts for doing outreach when physical outreach is not an option during the pandemic. The Arkansas Archaeological Survey's mission is to study Arkansas's past, to preserve and manage information about archaeological sites, and to share what we learned with the people of Arkansas. Now, the third part of the mission has actually become a little bit more of a challenge during the pandemic. Normally, we go out to schools and we talk with teachers and students about the science of archaeology, and we share with the public at different public events and community festivals and museums and historical society talks and all these different things. We get to actually go out, have people touch artifacts, and get them really engaged. So again, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but we've come up with lots of things. We've started to piggyback on other people's ideas. We've come up with our own ideas, and so this presentation again is going to show you a little bit what some of the stations and survey archaeologists have been doing. Since this has all started, people have been coming up with more and more great ideas to keep in touch with, both our volunteers and the public in general. So, for example, on Thursdays, normally at the Arkadelphia station at Henderson State University, Dr. Trubitt and Tommy have had all kinds of volunteers over the years every Thursday to work in their labs. Well, since that's not possible anymore, they've both started to put remote archaeology labs on their Ouachita chapter Facebook page. So, for example, on the right-hand side is a submission that they put in a couple of weeks ago. And so you can see that there's lots more going on in the lab still, even though the volunteers aren't able to come. So they often post stuff that they're finding in the lab and cool stuff that they've learned about some of the stuff that they're studying. So check that out on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, Michelle has started to make these really fantastic videos about what's going on at the park and lab. She first started out looking at just the prehistoric artifacts that were coming out of the Richards Bridge analysis. However, the videos became really popular and she decided to start making historical archaeology videos as well. And also some of us sometimes do little guest presentations for her for those submissions. So check out the Park and Archaeological Site Facebook page on Fridays for the next few weeks, where she's still coming up with new ideas. She hasn't run out of anything yet. So check that out. These videos are fantastic. Dr. Beaupre from UAPB has been working with the Boy Scouts of America probably all of his life, but this summer, since they had to go virtual with their summer camps, he was able to still do lots of programming with the kids and have engaging videos and activities that they worked on from afar. So we're still accessing the kids in that way. And lots of the stations and the chapters are sharing much more stuff on social media. So just make sure you keep in touch with all of your favorite stations and favorite chapters, Facebook pages and Twitter accounts and Instagram pages, to just keep in touch with what's going on. And then finally, basically sparked by Michelle's videos from Parkin, we decided we're going to start a YouTube channel. So check out this Arkansas Archaeological Survey's YouTube channel, which is going to be we're going to be adding more and more videos to that as we go, not just Michelle's stuff, but other folks' stuff as well. So we're going to try to have more learning activities go on to that YouTube channel. Now, there's also something that has been going on for a long time and reaching out across the nation, but it's even more important now to be remote with both the Skype a Scientist and Letters to a Pre-Scientist program that a lot of us have been participating in over the years. And so the Skype a Scientist is where you get piped in, again, on either Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever platform the teacher wants to use, and you can actually talk to large groups of kids about archaeology or about a specific topic that their classroom is going through right then. And then this Letters to a Pre-Scientist is a much more one-on-one thing where you get a pen pal every year and you get to write back and forth to each other. So both of these programs, again, are something that were already in play, but they're becoming more important now with this remote necessity. We're also doing some new curriculum stuff with using the state standards to apply to the lessons and programs that we already have available. One of them in particular, the gardening, gathering, and agriculture program curriculum that was made a few years ago. We're starting to revamp that and also look at it scientifically because it was written for social studies. So we're doing a science curriculum component to it, and we're also looking at ways to make it virtual, make the entire curriculum virtual. So Emily Beam and I, or Mel, are working together to update some of the stuff, and we're going to be hoping to work with Deb Weddle and Lydia Reese and a few other people to get this thing online and more virtual and more actively engaged with some of the chapters and some of the activities that were in the chapters and new ones that we'll be adding. So we're trying to attract some of the teachers that are having to go completely virtual now by adding some of these things to the curriculum. Their Zoom meetings are becoming really, really popular with all the different chapters. And so I just urge you to look for any newsletters or anything online that your chapters are sharing about Zoom links to different meetings. So those are your different chapters all around. And don't forget to go to arcarc.org to figure out who is where and where things are. But of course, you don't have to go to the chapter anymore. You can go right to their Zoom meeting. A big event that many of us are participating in is Native American Day with the Shiloh Museum of Ozark History. When we first started working with the Shiloh Museum earlier in the year, we had planned on having a face-to-face event on November 20th to have a bunch of presenters sitting at tables, and fifth grade classes were going to come and visit with us and talk about any aspect of archaeology and Native American history. Well, since it's had to go virtual, we've actually wound up attracting a lot more presenters, and now we're going to be doing a virtual event on November 19th and 20th where we're going to have different presenters talk for 20 minutes at a time about different topics like Native American history and heritage. So we've got lots of archaeologists that'll be talking, we've got volunteers and members of the public and some living history characters talking, and we also have some tribal representatives. They're going to be talking about their heritage. And so it's going to be a really cool event, and now it turns out we're going to be able to open it to anybody, any teachers that want to watch it. So it's actually going to access a lot more people, and so it'll be on their private Facebook page. So it's not going to be open to the public, but it will be open to the educators that are subscribers to the Shiloh Museum's private Facebook page. So we'll probably be accessing a whole lot more people, and we're really looking forward to doing that. The Archaeological Institute of America has a few education outreach folks that we've started to work with for just kind of coming up with ideas and learning about how to do things virtually. And this year, for their International Archaeology Day, which we'll talk about on the next slide, they're actually going to try to get the entire month of October to get people really active and engaged about archaeology. And so they're going to be doing a tweet-a-thon. Now, for those of you who don't know what a tweet-a-thon is, it's basically just using Twitter to make tons and tons of posts on specific days all across the nation and probably all across the world. So we're going to be asking different archaeologists, not just around the state, but all the archaeologists that we know, to make different kinds of tweets on October 1, October 9, October 16, and then during the day on International Archaeology Day. So there's going to be like different themes, and my favorite one is going to be on October 16th. It's the archaeology versus archaeology camp, and it's going to be who spells archaeology which way, and everybody's going to have a big fight on Twitter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to get people involved in thinking about archaeology and learning more about archaeology. So we credit the Institute for the Archaeological Institute of America for coming up with a great idea and then letting us get roped in on it.
Like Mel said, International Archaeology Day is October 17th this year. From their perspective, any archaeology-related content is great. So Mel and I thought that since we weren't able to have our summer training program in June and are doing our annual meeting virtually, and those are the events at which most society members get to meet and talk with survey staff and find out about what we were all doing at our various stations and at the coordinating office, it would be fun to film short introduction videos of as many staff members as we can convince. We came up with some basic questions for each other, such as, what do you do at the survey? How long have you worked here? How did you get into archaeology, and what are your research interests? Then we each filmed our own introductions as examples.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michelle Rathgaber, and I am the archaeological assistant at the Parkins Station of the Arkansas Archaeological Survey. And I've been with the survey in various capacities since 2011. I started as the archaeological assistant at the Blyville Station, which is in Northeast Arkansas. and that's now closed. But while I was there, I found a really great research topic that I wanted to pursue further. So in 2015, I applied to graduate school at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, and I was accepted. And luckily I got to stay with the survey because they took me on as a graduate assistant at the coordinating office, which is located in Fayetteville. And so in that capacity, I was able to do just a whole bunch of odd jobs for different archaeologists around the survey. So if they needed help in the field, I would help in the field. If they needed help in the lab, I would work in the lab. And I got to work for the registrar's office for a little bit of time, doing data entry and data analysis. So I got to see all different parts of the survey work, and that was really neat. And then in 2019, I graduated with my PhD, and luckily there was a position open at the Parkin Station. So I applied and I got hired and got to move back to Eastern Arkansas, which is where my research interest is. So I was really excited. And my big project here in Parkin is to work on the artifact analysis from the Richards Bridge excavations. And Richards Bridge was a joint project between the Arkansas Archaeological Survey and Arkansas Archaeological Society in 2015 and 2016. And they ran a big training program. So we had hundreds of volunteers come in and learn about archaeological excavation techniques and archaeological lab techniques and how to properly and professionally and ethically do archaeological research. And we got a ton of work done during those 2 summers, but if you know anything about archaeology, you know there's still tons of lab work left to do. And so I'm going through now and doing a lot of artifact analysis and data entry and data analysis so that we can get this excavation to a point where we can write a report on this site. So how did I get here from the beginning? So I was doing my undergrad at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and I was taking anthropology classes, but just kind of dabbling in it. But then I got the opportunity to go to field school at Tiwanaku, Bolivia, and that was a really great experience. And it was really much more eye-opening than just reading about archaeology, getting to do it in the field and see the kind of things that you can learn and what you can do with archaeological research and collections. So I decided that maybe was what I wanted to do. So I came back and I finished my senior year and I got a degree in anthropology and zoology. And then I worked for a little while and then decided I wanted to go back and get a master's degree. So I went to Bournemouth University in the UK to get a degree in osteoarchaeology. So that's bones. I studied human remains and animal remains, but my real research focus was animal remains and how people used animals and their bones in the past. So fun fact, that means that I've written 2 dissertations in my lifetime, because in the UK, you write a dissertation as part of your master's degree, whereas in the US, you write your dissertation as part of your PhD program. So like I said, in 2015, I started a PhD program at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and that was in environmental dynamics, because what I was studying was how Mississippian people around 1500 AD responded to and understood the earthquakes of the New Madrid seismic zone. So the New Madrid seismic zone is in the central US. It's the most seismically active area in the eastern United States. We get small earthquakes here weekly or monthly, but every 400 to 500 years, we have magnitude 7 to 8 size earthquakes. And those earthquakes cause something called a sand blow. And a sand blow is when the high water table and the sand start shaking during a really large scale earthquake and become a fluid, and then they will try to escape through the ground surface. And if they can, they essentially shoot out like a geyser and will then cover the ground surface. And so in my research, I excavated a site that had been covered by a sand blow that had then been abandoned because of that being covered by a sand blow. So I was looking at how we could use archaeological material cultures to see how Mississippian people around that time reacted to these big earthquakes and how they might have understood them culturally to take into account the fact that they might happen. So I thought that was really cool. I still think that's really cool. That's still something that I'm looking at in addition to all the work from Richards Bridge. So if you'd like to learn more about me or about the survey or about the society, we have links to all of that kind of information and contact information below in the description. It's been great talking to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day.
Hey folks, my name is Mel Zabecki. I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator at the Arkansas Archaeological Survey, and I've held that position since 2018. I first got into archaeology because I really loved learning about history, but I wanted to see the stuff firsthand instead of reading in books. And I also had an obsession with ancient Egypt, so I wound up going there during my junior year and really starting to focus on Egyptology. So I got my bachelor's degree from Mount Holyoke College in Western Massachusetts, and with a minor in Egyptology and of course a major in anthropology. And then I went on to get my master's and my PhD at the University of Arkansas Fayetteville in anthropology with a focus in bioarchaeology. I had a really great time traveling back and forth to Egypt for a number of years and wound up getting really tired of the travel and decided to settle down and get a job at Arkansas State Parks, where I worked for Park and Archaeological State Park for about 6 years, where I learned all about American archaeology as well as education and educating the public. So I wound up getting this job because I worked at Parkin and had a really great time just talking to the public and dealing with school kids and stuff like that. But my very first archaeological experience was back in 1995, in between my sophomore and junior years at college. I went to New Mexico with a group from Northern Illinois University, and we dug a site called Pueblo Blanco near the Galisteo, in the Galisteo Basin, near Santa Fe in New Mexico. And it was a really great summer, really eye-opening, met lots of really interesting people, and learned a lot about, ancient culture. And it was a fantastic experience that got me completely hooked in archaeology, and I stuck with it, and it was a great experience. So aside from being education outreach coordinator here at the survey and talking about all different types of archaeology to the public and trying to get school kids hooked on it and teaching teachers how to bring archaeology into the classroom, I also teach I'm an adjunct for the University of Arkansas Fayetteville Anthro department. I teach an introduction to physical anthropology online. And I also teach a class at ASU Mid-South from when I was back over at Parkin. I teach an online course there in cultural anthropology as well. So I still get a little bit of teaching in the university level, but I really find most of my joy hanging out with school kids, hanging out with the teachers, and just explaining to them how archaeology is a science and how there's actually incredible history in Arkansas. And I try to make sure that everybody's really proud of being from Arkansas and don't think it's, it's just a boring place where nothing happens. So that's kind of like what I love to do about archaeology and being the education outreach coordinator here, is just get the word out that we've got incredible history right here in Arkansas. As far as other outreach things that I do, I am a life member of the Arkansas Archaeological Society and a proud member of the COCOC chapter. And I like to go to the annual meeting and help out with registration there. I love to help out at the annual training program in the summertime, doing whatever I can to help during different classes or to be out in the field with folks. And I also am the secretary right now of the COCOC chapter, so I do all the minutes for the meetings and send out the newsletters and things like that. So I really love interacting with our society members and love to see them learn and get really excited about certain aspects of archaeology. And I love seeing all the different station archaeologists and assistants getting involved in that too, and teaching the general public about archaeology. So that's me in a nutshell. I hope you enjoy meeting everybody at the survey. Thanks.
We think that this will be a quick and fun way to learn a little bit more about the people who work at the survey and what we are all up to, as well as to maybe expand our reach a little bit more through YouTube. If you have any questions or topics that you think would be fun to have addressed in videos like these, please reach out to me, Michelle, or Mel and let us know. You can find our contact information on the Arkansas Archaeological Survey's website, which is on this slide. We hope to hear from you soon, and we hope you'll look for our intro videos on October 17th.